live on YouTube, Dave, so don't swear.
No bother. Fancy that.
Yeah.
And I'll mute all these annoying little noises.
Okay.
Oh, I can see a participants list. Cool.
Okay.
Jenny's in.
Right, so let me time that. Yeah. Oh, can you? Oh, I was going to make you a co-host. Can you see the list then of who's there?
I can see the list and I can chat, but I can't promote.
Okay. So I've just
I can talk now.
I've just made you a co-host. So can you do that now?
What? Allow Jenny to talk?
Yeah.
Hi, Jenny. You'll need to unmute.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Excellent. That's probably easier then, Dave.
Oh.
If I sort of chair it and you can.
I can keep an eye out for hands up and press.
Yeah,
allow.
and then you can allow to talk. Okay, they can't be seen, but we can allow them to. Yeah. AGM.
Bosses.
So, YouTube. Let's
Just testing them.
I'll tell you what. Let's put a blank screen up, shall we? So we've got. Let's show from the beginning. Make that there.
Is that your bedroom wallpaper, Dave?
Yeah, I'm actually Seasons.
Right, so everybody should have that now as their background. Yeah.
Yeah.
Leo, can you just drop me a WhatsApp to say that you can see that? Excellent. Leo can see that. Thank you, Leo. Right, I'm going to mute myself now because nobody wants to hear me. Evening, Paul. I'm just what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna demote you to an attendee for the time being, because you don't want to hear and be involved in all the trust nonsense. And then when it comes to the forum, I'll bring you back up to the top as a panelist. There we go. Right. I make that 7:45. Hopefully everybody can hear me. We are running slightly on virgin ground here. We would usually be in the bar at Wadden Road rather than from each other's spare rooms and wherever. But hopefully the boring part of the evening won't take very long. For those who don't know me, I'm James Young, the chairman of the Robbins Trust. We do have to go through some sort of quite boring legal stuff first of all this evening before I can hand over to Michael and members of the Cheltenham board to do the interesting parts. So hopefully everybody can see a PowerPoint presentation, first slide that just says Robbins Trust AGM and Fans Forum. We will start at 7:45 and then the Robbins Trust logo. If I press this button, hopefully that should change to another slide, he says, and it doesn't. There we go. So before we start, there are a few things we need to go through. First of all, there are 3 votes tonight for trust members. We ask that everybody who isn't a trust member and who is here just doesn't get involved in those votes, please. There will be a polling facility, which I'll go through in a moment. Obviously, in this bizarre situation that we find ourselves in, normally we would be able to mitigate that and ensure people turn up with and get given voting cards if they're a trust member. Obviously, that can't happen tonight, so we just ask that people just don't vote if you're not a trust member. Just please help us out with that. It will keep things rolling. As to which, there should be a poll appearing on your screen now. Hopefully everybody can see that. Dave, can you give me a thumbs up to say that it's there? Yeah. If everybody can have a vote, and if someone, probably Leo, can vote no, just to show that the no function works, that will be marvelous. Nobody's voted no yet. I can see the pot. Can somebody please vote? There we go. There's a no vote. I'll run it for 30 seconds, which is now, and then hopefully everybody can see the results. Dave, if you can give me a thumbs up to show that you can see the results. Excellent. So that works. So that's one thing less to worry about. We'll bring you in on the votes as and when they appear. So we'll have a short break between the AGM closing and the forum starting. That'll just be to go through the logistics of getting Michael and Paul Godfrey and Clive and anybody else from the trust from the club board just logged in as a panelist, so you can hear from them. We'll see how long it takes. You can use that time to go and get a drink, whatever. We'll give you a start time as and when that comes back. While that happens, you can log your questions, and you can log them now. If you type that particular address into your web browser, bit.ly/fansforumqueues, you will be able to log into something that both Dave and I can see, and we can put those questions. But there will be the ability as well to raise your hand as an attendee. Dave's going to be looking out for those. We can promote you to a speaker, so ask your question personally to Michael or the board. But if you want to do it anonymously, or if you don't really want to speak on Zoom, then use this function. I'll post this link again, and we'll leave that screen up just as we break before we enter everyone in. So this is our quick agenda. There's 4 items that we just need to get through before we get to the forum. Hopefully we'll be able to whittle through them quite quickly. first is falls on me as the chairman to speak a bit about the trust in 2019-20. It's been a quiet year, one which, despite losing games to COVID, we actually beat last year's fundraising total and invested a further £7,000 in shares in the club. That means now, since 2005, when the trust was launched, we've invested £283,821 in Cheltenham Town. That equates to 189,214 shares, which is a shareholding of just around 10%. In the last year, we've been fortunate to welcome 3 new members to our trust board. Hopefully, they will be returned without any problems by our electorate tonight. Jenny Hancock, David LaBourgeois, and Jamie Henderson are hopefully going to bring real fresh ideas and fresh impetus to us. They've been involved in our last couple of meetings, and I'm really pleased to have them on board, because the trust needed a few new faces. It couldn't just be Leo and John Cooper and Nathan and Dave and I and all the others who have been involved for so long. To have 3 new people is really, really encouraging. Unfortunately, of those list of names that I read out, then we're without Richard Alsop, and it's obviously a real bad loss for us and for everybody who knew Richard, who succumbed to an illness in July. Richard was our raffle man. He was out in all weathers despite his illness, which he never really told us about, and he was such a redoubtable figure, and we will miss him massively. We will miss it, the way he conducted the raffle, the way he sorted it, but more than anything, I'll miss being met with him in the Wadden Road car park when we're finally able to go back to games, with his broad grin on his face, asking me for my money. So it's a massive shame what happened to Richard. I've been in touch with his family since it happened, with Gus and Anne, his parents, and we are looking at ways that we can properly look after Rich's memory. He had a condition called Noonan syndrome, of which some of his family are actually involved in the British Society of, and we're going to donate some money to them out of the trust funds anyway, as a remark of sort of our thanks for what Richard did for us. And we're also, as and when that great day when we're all back at Wadden Road and there are no restrictions, we're going to have a special raffle and a bucket collection in Rich's honour, and hopefully we'll all be able to get some real good funds to the Noonan Syndrome Association to mark what he did. Second thing I'd like to talk about is the appointment of our new supporter liaison, and this is where it's going to get slightly tricky, because I'm going to try and do something on Zoom that may end up going completely wrong. So I'm going to try and bring Jenny Hancock, who's our new SLO. It's a league mandated position that you have to have. I think Dave and Paul Godfrey have been it in the past, but Jenny's really keen. She's going to whip us all into shape, which is absolutely brilliant. And if I can promote her to a panelist, she should appear and be able to speak. Jenny, you'll need to unmute, but hopefully... Nope. Need to unmute, Jenny. You unmuted and you muted and then unmuted. Right, go. Fire away.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Yeah, I can see James waving his arms around, so I hope so. Okay, I just wanted to say hello. I've recently joined the Robbins Trust board, and I've just recently taken on the role of supporter liaison officer for Cheltenham Town. Obviously, the last few months have been very trying, very challenging for supporters and for the club, but I'm very optimistic going forward about the way that football will look in our town. So that's really exciting. The main focus of my role as SLO will be to make sure that all supporters have the best possible match day experience, whether it's home or away. I really look forward and getting excited about meeting people at the ground, hopefully from this Saturday onwards, getting to know faces and listening to your views and your suggestions about how you can make the match day experience the best for you. Up until I get to see everyone, you can follow me on Twitter or you can email me at slo@ctfc.com.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jenny. I need to now work out how to demote you, which I will do. There we go. So yeah, please do get in touch with Jenny. She's going to be really brilliant. She's she's going to be just what the trust board need as a director of the trust, as to which that we come to our next point, which is our elections. And now I need to find Leo. The elections were held between October and November in accordance with our trust rules. Here he is. They were overseen by a guy from the Exeter City Trust, a guy called Neil Lemillier, who's also on the Football Supporters Association National Council. And Leo, who was, you'll need to unmute yourself before you do anything, Leo. Leo, who was the only trust board member not to restand or stand for election this year, conducted them. So I will hand you over to Leo to talk you through the process.
Okay, good evening all. I hope everyone can hear me. We opened up the nominations for elections on October 20th and held them open until November the 6th. The whole process was scrutinized and practically run by Neil Millier of the Exeter City Trust, and we thank him for his help. He's most fastidious in getting things done and make sure all of the rules are applied. When the nominations closed, we had 7 nominees for trust board membership, which, as there's a lot of possibility of having up to 15 nominees without an election, that means no election is required. The names of the nominees are Jenny Hancock, Dave Beasley, Jamie Henderson, John Cooper, Nathan Mattick, James Young, and David Le Bourgeois. What we need now is just to ratify that election. So there's a vote for trust members only, just to confirm if we get a majority for yes, we don't need to go any further on this. Yeah.
Okay, we'll keep that open for 30 seconds. Hopefully everybody can see it.
At the same time, the election was open for the fans elected director, with Dave Beasley standing to renew his post for his 2nd term, and he was the only candidate. So again, subject to ratification by this meeting in the same way. Yeah, we can hopefully ratify Dave as the fan elected director. Right, the voting is now open.
It's not looking good, Dave.
But nil.
So keep it open for 30 seconds again. So 5 seconds to go. Right. I can share those results. So the election of the FED was 100% yes. I'm trying to find the way to share the results for the first one, which is there. So again, 100% yes. So thank you very much for everybody who did that. Those are now ratified, and everybody. So David, Jamie, and Jenny. There's no turning back now.
And thanks to all the other candidates for standing for re-election.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Leo.
Okay.
We will come back to you. No, we won't come back to you later. You can go.
No, I'm just watching from now on.
You can go and watch unless you have a question. So hopefully Leo should disappear. The next point is the presentation of our accounts. These were sent to members via a link on the second email, we sent with the registration details. Obviously, these are something that we legally have to submit each year to the FCA as a friendly society. I'm hoping that there's not a vote that's needed on this because, and I have to say our thanks, we put a plea out about 2 months ago for somebody to help us with combining these accounts, and a wonderful Cheltenham fan called Justine Day, don't know whether she's with us tonight, but she put her name forward. She works for a company called Mosaic Accounting in Stratford, and she's helped us not only finishing off the compiling of our accounts, which John Cooper, our wonderful secretary and treasurer, did a sterling job doing himself, but Justine did the final touches. She was able to also do the independent audit that we need according to the FCA, and has helped us file them. So I'm hoping that we don't need a vote for this, and not only because I've not set them up and I don't know anything about accounting, but I'm pretty sure that Justine does. If anybody has any question or query, if you can put your hand up via the notification bar, Dave will let me know if there's any on that, but if not, we'll take those as being read, which hopefully they are. So we'll just if anybody does have a point, we'll come back to it. I'm quite keen to get through because nobody wants to hear from me. So next point on the agenda is the launch of what we want to call Protect Our Robins. It's something that we've actually spoken about quite a lot through the pandemic, not just amongst ourselves as a trust board, but with other supporters trusts and supporter groups across the country, realizing that there is going to be long-term problems with football because of the COVID pandemic. Obviously, revenues have been slashed while costs have remained largely the same, and that leads to, if not short-term problems, then long-term problems for clubs, and we want to do our bit to try and help. So in the coming days, we are going to be launching this Protect Our Robins campaign. It is in its final stages of being sorted. Dave, our FED, who's also a web developer, has done a lot of the work. So you can actually now go to www.protectourrobins.com and register some interest, and there will be a bit more information about how the scheme will work. It comes after we did a recent survey following a meeting that Dave, Jenny and I had with Paul Godfrey and Murray on one of the rare occasions we were actually allowed into the pub. And we said we'd go away and do a bit of groundwork before launching. That groundwork was based around creating a survey, which 141 of you filled in, which was really pleasing. One of the questions we asked was, would you be willing to try and help your club through the pandemic with a financial contribution? 86% of those people who were surveyed said that they would, and 60% said that they would be prepared to do so on a regular and ongoing basis. As a result, we've drawn up a campaign that from as little as £10, and this I'll come on to our next point, you will be able to, a one-off contribution of £10, you'll be able to become a trust member, but also help the club through this period. Our aim is to provide ongoing cash flow as much as we can, and as much as the supporters will want to try and help through the longer term effects of this pandemic. Because yes, there might be a bailout soon, and we hope there is a bailout soon, and yes, we hope that crowds will be back at Whaddon Road before too long. But there's also been 9 months where we haven't had crowds, and there are going to be problems resulting of that. Cheltenham are one of the better off clubs, as I understand it, but they're still going to be hit. So if you all can log on to Protect Our Robins, have a look at what we've put there, sign up to a mailing list, and then as and when the campaign goes live, we will email you out with the full details of how that works. And with that, we took the decision as a trust board, after a bit of consideration, to tie in the launch of Protect Our Robins with the relaunch of our membership subscriptions. Our financial year at the trust runs from end of May to June, 1st of June to the end of May each year, and we tied in our memberships to go alongside that. We thought that this year, end of May to the beginning of June, beginning of June to the end of May, but probably wasn't the right time to ask people for money, it being in the initial lockdown, with the great uncertainty about football, and with the knowledge that we might have to step up and do something like this in the future. So anybody who is a trust member or was a trust member last year is still a trust member until the launch of this campaign. So you'll have had more months than your money. And when we launch again, it's going to be a minimum £10 to be a trust member and to contribute to the Protect Our Robins campaign. That does mean that we need to raise our annual membership subscriptions, which is currently £5, to £10. And again, if members can please, I need to change the question, hang on. hang on, it's all gone wrong. Okay, launch poll. So if again, members can vote if you're happy to increase the annual membership from £5 to £10 as part of this scheme. That would be appreciated. So again, I can see the figures going up. I'll keep that running for 30 seconds again. I can see Greg Parry's got a hand up. Why have you got a hand up, Greg Parry?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, no, it was just more of a question on whether there was anything relating to those people who might have signed up to 10-year memberships, and whether there was the ability for those people to maybe further extend their 10-year memberships at this period of time as well. So, for example, if you're halfway through, maybe extending for a new 10-year term as a bit of a cash injection now, and whether this is just basically for those on annual memberships for the moment.
Yeah, good question. We will obviously honour all 10-year members. I am one myself, but we hope those who are on 10-year memberships already will want to, and if they want to, will contribute to this campaign. We won't be reissuing 10-year memberships, but within Protect Our Robins, the idea is that £10 as a one-off annual membership is the minimum. People can, and Dave has built a system whereby there is some flexibility where you can do a rolling £10, £20 donation, or you can do a one-off donation, or you can do a bespoke amount that you want to do per month. So it'll be completely flexible. We've taken the decision just through ease and counting not to keep those 10-year memberships on. We will obviously honour all those that are there now. But if anybody wants to give us the cost of a 10-year membership, I can't remember the actual level that we priced it at last time. We will be more than happy to take your money and then invest it directly into the football club, which is what we will be doing with all this money. All the information will be on Protect Our Robins. I will make sure that question is also answered on that website, which it isn't currently. But thank you for that, Greg. Okay, I'll just share the results of the subscriptions poll. 31 people said yes, which is terrific. Thank you very much. So now we come to the bit that everybody wants to see rather than me. I can shut up. So it'll be the fans forum with Michael and the rest of the board. If we say that it's 7 minutes past 8 now, if we say that we'll start at about 12 minutes past, just so we can have 5 minutes to get everybody set, and then we will reconvene. Remember, if you want to ask any questions, log on to that bit.ly/fans forum queues. I'll leave that there until we come back for when Michael and Paul and Clive and whoever else from the board is here, and we've promoted them to the top. But thanks everybody for taking part. Thanks for all those who voted, and hopefully this time next year we'll be able to clink our glasses together and have a pint together rather than doing it by Zoom. Evening, Michael.
Hi, mate. How you doing?
Good. We are still live, so don't swear. You're on Channel 4. Paul, you'll need to unmute if you can.
You've never heard me swear, surely.
Clive, you'll need to unmute as well. Is there anybody else coming along, Paul, from the board?
I haven't heard from anybody else. So
I've got John Murphy. I assume that's John.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he has registered.
Yeah, we'll promote him just so.
You were a little bit quiet, Paul.
Need a haircut, Clive.
I know. It's terrible, isn't it?
Is that since?
It'll be done before Saturday.
Is that
Richard
since?
Lewis, is it?
Or-
Richard Lewis can join as well, can't he?
Yeah, if he signed up.
Right, I think that's everybody. If there's anybody else, if they can text you to say I've missed them, and I'll go. Yeah, but we leave it for 2 more minutes. I'll stop screen sharing, and then hopefully everything will work, which is remarkable. So far, no questions about corners. Okay, just give it 1 more minute and then we'll get cracking.
You are muted, Richard, still. Perfect.
Just a note to anybody who's still attending or waiting, can you use the link to answer questions if you want to email them? Don't email them to me because I've literally just seen one on my phone just now, but other questions I won't be able to check from my phone while I'm putting any forward. So if everybody's ready to go, I think we should be able to, we've got all the board there. You should be able to see them hopefully. Dave, if you can, Dave Beasley, if you can let me know if there's any more questions come up, but
I'll keep an eye out for raised hands as well.
Yeah, so I'll kick off. First question we had, it's probably one for the board rather than anything else. So Cheltenham is a family-friendly club and a fine town. Is there anything stopping us from attempting to bring women's internationals and age group internationals to Whaddon Road to gain a new audience?
The simple answer is no. There's nothing to stop it. Well, apart from the obvious thing at the moment, we have held international games before at the ground. We had a Victory Shield game some while ago against. We played Italy, didn't we? We played Italy in one game, and we also had another one a couple of years before that. So we've had age group games. It's quite competitive trying to get those matches. You have to register your ground with the FA, and obviously with our ground being one of the smaller ones, and also some of the facilities being a bit older, there are other grounds that tend to be a little bit ahead of you in the queue. But what they do sometimes is they base the tournaments in a certain part of the country. So if they're coming to the West Country, if they're going to play games in Bristol or Gloucestershire, for example, then we'd stand a chance of having games. So it's certainly not something that we would rule out.
Thank you, Paul. Question from Michael, an anonymous one. Is there anything you and the staff will do to help prepare the players to play in front of fans again after being behind closed doors for such a long time?
No, I think the players are just as excited as the supporters to get a normal sort of atmosphere at the stadiums. So it's I think it's been a long time coming, but we won't have to do any extra preparation. It will be probably trying to calm them down as much as anything, because it will be like kids at Christmas, because everyone's been chasing for it. It's why we play. It's why you train every day, is for that, to go and play in front of a crowd on a Saturday. So to have that I don't know how many games we've played behind closed doors now, but it's been a lot, and they're not nearly as enjoyable.
Thank you very much. Another one for the board. With the excellent news that we're in Tier 2 and fans can get back into the ground watching the pride of Gloucestershire play, is there anything that fans can do to help the club prepare?
Well, I suppose the main thing is, I mean, we need to go through all of this anyway. We've been working on it for some time, and we're hopeful, as we've said before, that we can hold a game on Saturday with a few supporters in the ground. The situation with regard to the capacity is that in Tier 2, we're allowed the lower of either 2,000 or 50% of our socially distanced capacity. Now, our socially distanced capacity is going to be in the region of 2,000, possibly less. It depends on the, without getting into too much detail, it depends on the social bubbles in the seats. So it could be 17, 1800s more like. We think for the foreseeable future, our capacity is going to be in the region of 1,000. But years are going to be reviewed every 2 weeks. So we're hopeful that before long there might be some movement on that score. The most important thing for those that are coming to the games is to please, abide by the codes of conduct and all of the protocols that we've had to put in place. It's been a long, hard road for football to try and get people back into the stadiums. We're really, really keen to try and make it work. There's an awful lot at stake for the football stream with this. And, we want to make a success of it. And the last thing we want is for, in a couple of months' time for there to be another spike and for the scientists to sort of point the finger at football and say, well, we let people back in the football grounds and then it's gone wrong again. So it's really important. There's going to be a lot of information coming out this week about all the different things we're going to have to do when we get back in the ground. And so really the best thing that everyone can do is please just follow all the procedures, and hopefully in time we'll be able to welcome more people back, because we're really looking forward to having a few people back in the ground, and hopefully we can make a success of it. Then we can take further steps.
Anybody who's who's attending can raise their hand, and Dave Beasley is on the lookout for them to answer questions. I've also just reposted the link on the chat. We have got a few more. One from Michael. Pep Guardiola was quoted today saying he had lost his love for football since the new season had started. Question for you: what's it been like for you in the team, with and specifically in regards to mental health?
I think the mental health thing was something we were quite concerned about during the first lockdown. Trying to make sure, because people forget that we had people like John T. Smith, who's from a completely different part of the world, and he was living in a bedsit in Cheltenham. So it's all right for me. I had my family and my wife, my kids. But sometimes players are living away from home on their own, and it is tough. They become institutionalized, so they're used to getting told, same as when you retire as a player. For 20, 25 years, you've been told what to do, you've been told what to eat, you've been told how to act. So for that to completely stop, I know it's the same in a lot of other walks of life as well. So that was one of the main concerns that we had. I ended up giving the lads homework because we didn't know when we were going to return for the playoffs. So there's no sort of start date. Even when we returned to training for the playoffs, we had no date of when we were playing, which is completely against what you'd normally do. So there was all that uncertainty. It creates anxieties. So we were having sort of weekly group meetings. So we had defenders meetings, midfielders meetings, forwards meetings, just giving bits of homework to try and get them something to engage with and to communicate with each other. Because the original lockdown back in March, it was tough because you literally were locked down. You couldn't go anywhere. With the start of this season, it's been slightly different. There's been a focus. There's been a start point. There's been games to work towards all the time. So and the lads get to see each other every day. So there's less of a concern about the mental health side of it. But then there's other stresses. Some players will enjoy playing behind closed doors. Some players won't. as the overhanging. Everyone's got the same worries as are people going to take pay cuts? Are they not going to take pay cuts? The club have been brilliant in terms of everyone's had all their money so far, which is great. But it doesn't say it stops people worrying. And like I said, I don't think anyone likes uncertainty.
Dave, I think we've got a hand up.
We have. So this is hang on, allowed to talk. John Jackson.
John, you'll need to unmute before you ask a question. John, you need to unmute. Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Far away. No.
Afraid we're not hearing you, John.
No, I'm not hearing it, unfortunately. Okay, well, in the meantime, John might come in. Another question for the board. Will shielding fans who are season ticket holders and those who are elderly who don't want to turn up until there's a vaccine still have access to i5 for all home matches?
Sorry, it's me again. There's no plans. I don't think there's any plans to stop the iFollow for the immediate future, but there will come a time when it's very probable there will become a time when you won't be able to watch sport or football at 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon because the Football League have had to lift the bar that exists against that in order to protect the attendances. So at the moment, it's still possible. There are a lot of things that are under discussion at the moment, and I must admit I've got a whole list here that we're still working through. But I'm making notes in this meeting, so any questions that come up that we need to provide answers to, we will do so this week. There'll be, as I said earlier, there will be a large amount of information that comes out that we're going to publish on the website. So you'll be able to find, hopefully, the answers to all of the questions that you want. So I'm making a note of that one now.
Excellent. Thank you, Paul. John, are you still there? John Jackson, if you want to try and answer your question, ask your question. Don't think we've got you, though. It's another hand up, so... Adrian Metcalf, if you can unmute, hopefully you'll be able to.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh.
Excellent. Question for Michael Duff. You happy with the third round tie with Mansfield?
I don't think it's the first name and you've picked out the hat if you'd have had a choice, but the fact that it's at home, it's a winnable game. There were a lot worse draws than that one. You go and get a Wickham away or something like that, which wouldn't have been an ideal draw, I don't think. But it's winnable, so hopefully there'll be a little bit more prize money today if we can turn up and deliver a performance, and then obviously you got another chance. That's all we can do, is just keep trying to give yourself chances to go and get one of the plum draws. So it's sort of slightly underwhelming, but realistically winnable.
Excellent.
Anybody else want to put their hand up? I've got a couple more that have come in. Let me go to my email questions. So, Michael, do you have a favoured formation and use the players at your disposal to fit it, or vice versa?
Sorry, you broke up there a little bit. I didn't.
Yeah. Do you have a favoured formation, or do you use the formation to fit the players?
Well, I think that's somewhat. You fit the formation and fit the players. Obviously, I came in trying to play one system. One thing I do like two centre forwards on the pitch. So I think Paul and John were in my interview when I got interviewed, and I did say that the two formations I prefer are a 4-4-2 and 3-5-2 for the league. I think when you go up the leagues, it's slightly different. You might need to play a slightly different way, but I do like two centre forwards because it is League Two ultimately. So we do try and play, we do try and knock it around a little bit, but ultimately when you have two centre forwards, you can whack it down the pitch and still have a chance of landing on something. So there's a realism of the level that we're at as well.
Thank you. Another one for the board. Were there any capital investments in the pipeline before COVID, i.e. electronic turnstiles, raised roof in the Presby Road end, and subsequently have those now been shelved as a result of COVID? Come on, Clive, take the pressure
Well,
off.
that's
Paul.
not Paul, or do you want me to?
Yeah, go on. You do this one, Clive.
Yeah, I'll answer just so you don't speak all night, Paul. Yes, there was. So I think Paul even spoke about it on the radio the other week. We were looking at the Presby Road end to raise a roof on that. We do look at capital projects all the time. We know the turnstiles actually when they raise there. We are traditional, shall I say, in our entrances where we do heavily rely on cash. That may be something that the world has changed significantly in the last 6 months, so we might have to catch up a little bit on that one. Have they been shelved? They've probably been put towards the middle, stroke back of the shelf, because obviously, as Paul's already spoke about on the radio, a lot of our cash that we were looking to do capital projects, we've had to spend to get us through the last 6, 9 months, and we'll continue to use so we can get us through the rest of the season. So. Fortunately, some of those projects that we were looking to do have probably now had to go on the back burner, but they're not gone and forgotten about.
Here's one for Michael. Michael, Graham Fletcher asks, I watched the game on Saturday on the iPlayer. Very good game. What were your thoughts on the game, the referee, and the incident at the end?
Well, I thought the game was good. I thought the ref wasn't, and I wasn't particularly happy with what happened at the end. So I thought it was a strong performance against a strong team. I think it was quite clear what everybody thought of what the referee. We've all had him, I'm sure. I was a player, and plenty of people have seen me have stinkers. I'd like to think he would admit that he had an off day. The bit at the end was, I don't want to keep going on about it. Something might happen of it, something might not, but it's not for me, particularly the captain of the football club. I told Dave that straight after the game. I walked in, he came into the office, and I said, look, I just want to let you know what I've said in the press, because I don't want to be the bloke that sits in his office all nicey. He walks out of the office, gets on the bus, and then notices that I've been saying certain things about his saying certain things about one of his players. So I was quite honest with him. I don't think there's any place for it any time, particularly in. Everyone knows the world we're living in at the minute. It was a disgrace, to be honest.
Another one for you, so I'll keep you off mute for a while. Is there a screening midfielder missing from the squad, or do you not consider that necessary with the formation that you use, or do you think we have a player that will fill that role?
Well, obviously there's lots of people that you would like in the team. Elliot Bonds was brought in to bring some physicality to the midfield. Now, obviously, Elliot's ruptured his knee ligaments and is missing for the season. We're not a club that can carry 2 or 3 of every player. We are at League 2, so they're usually at League 2 for a reason. It's because they can't tick all the boxes. If they were ticking all the boxes, they wouldn't be in League 2. So they're decisions that you need to make. We've got unlucky with Elliot. We thought he was a good player. We thought he did add real steel to what we steal, physicality, and he could still handle a ball. I'm sure lots of you have watched lots of League 2 football. A lot of the time they could do one or the other. So you can get the 6'2" set of midfielder, he can boot it and run around, but you give him the ball, he doesn't want it. Or vice versa, where they're really good on the ball, but they can't make a tackle. So it's something we'd identified, but unfortunately it got taken away from us. So we think we've got some good players. Anyone that was at the game against Cambridge, I was disappointed with the 2 midfielders on that day because of the lack of physicality that they showed. But it's just a case of trying to educate, trying to coach, trying to teach, to get them to play the way we want to play. I think most people would agree that they'd rather 2 footballers than 2 brutes, because the football that's played is better to watch. it might not be as effective sometimes, and it might drive people mad. But I know if I was going to watch a football team, I know what I'd rather go and watch. So it's a case of getting the best for what you can and what you can afford.
Excellent. Anybody wants to put their hand up? You can still do. I've got some more questions that have been submitted. First of all, comes back to points you were making earlier, and it's probably one for Michael and the board, is that football is a stressful industry, and Chris Hussey has been honest and brave with his shared experiences. Does the club have a procedure in place or procedures in place to ensure the well-being of staff is maintained?
Well, I can answer that from the players' point of view. The players do a well-being chart every morning. So they have to fill out online before they come in, and it's how they feel, how they've slept, how many hours they've slept, all those sorts of things. So they get flagged up sometimes before they even walk in the door. And now there's obviously needs to be a trust element that they need to be able to feel that they can actually give you that information. I know for a fact that I think I've put 3 or 4 players in contact since I've been in the job with outside experts. So that's a trust thing. That's a man management thing. And the club have been good in terms of helping players with that as well. Another thing, going back to the pandemic. So what we did do, we got a senior group of players involved, and they were actually sitting in on board meetings. So the board were open in terms of they were quite happy to open lines of communication to try and, because then obviously the senior players in the group, they're obviously in their own little groups with the players, just so they know what's going on as much as anyone did, because no one knew any answers really. There was lots of more questions than answers, but I'm not sure that there have been many football clubs in the Football League that will have had players in board meetings. So I think that goes to show you that everyone was pulling in the same direction. So from that sort of a mental health, Huss has been great, stepping out, speaking out. It's a difficult thing to come out and admit. He says he's got the tools to have helped him, which is great. He said he wants to help other people, which is great. And whatever helps him, I think everybody can see that he's a good footballer. So if the less stresses, the less pressures. I know he suffered a lot from anxiety, which he's quite happy for people to talk about now. We've had to deal with that as well. But ultimately, it's about 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, making them feel well, confident enough that they can go and deliver a performance. That's why they're the most important people at the football club.
Excellent, thanks. Another question regarding iFollow. I think we're going to get a lot of these. If the season continues with only home fans being permitted to attend, will iFollow continue to be available for away supporters? And if so, would the EFL address the home/away split of the payments?
Yeah, again, with iFollow, these are questions that we're going to be seeking answers from as well from the Football League as things go on. I know there's been some issues with it. There's been some technical issues at times. Probably the platform wasn't designed to deal with as many people as it has been, because initially it was on Saturday afternoons. Certainly, it was only really meant for people abroad, exile supporters in other countries and stuff to watch the teams. But so they've been battling away with it. We haven't had any formal communications from the Football League to suggest how iFollow is going to develop once supporters are back in the stadiums. But as I said earlier, they're only going to be in very limited numbers for the time being. So certainly, I wouldn't imagine anything too much is going to change in the short term. But certainly, as soon as we've got some more information on iFollow, then we'll be making it available.
Okay, I believe there's a hand up, Dave, somewhere. I've just had a notification flash up. Yep. Alan, you'll need to unmute. Yep.
Oh, good evening.
Hello.
Thanks for holding the forum. Very quick and boring question. I'm a member of the Trust. I'm also a member of the 100 Club. Both raise money for the club, and both are sort of struggling for members. Is there any relationship between those two bodies?
Well, for me, No, there's not. It was set up at the same time, and it's something that we've obviously thought about combining and joining forces with Steve. Steve's a good bloke. Obviously, he does a lot. I obviously haven't seen Steve since the last time I went to Wadden Road for a game, so it's not a conversation I've had. So it's yes, they both exist. It's certainly something we can look at. I think in the immediate sort of short term, I think the 500 Club does a really good job. We'd like to think that we do a decent job, and there's probably that need for fundraising to happen now as it is. So I think let's get this done, and then maybe when life returns to a bit of normality, that's certainly a conversation we can have. If I know Steve he works hard on the 500 Club, we work hard on the Trust. It seems silly that there's two groups of people that are struggling if we can join forces and come together and still help out the club. So that's certainly something we can look to do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alan. Anybody else who wants to raise their hand? I've got some more questions. One from M. Moore. It says, are there going to be funds available in January for players? It's actually anonymous, but
he's just texted me, Mickey, there.
Is that question too?
If it's aimed at me, then the answer will be yes, but I'm not sure that people will agree. So
yeah, we're in discussions at the moment, shall we say? So there is we had a board meeting last Friday. We've got another board meeting for mid-December. Like anything, we've come out and said we are going to lose a substantial amount of money this year. So it isn't like any other year, and things are constantly changing. 2 weeks ago we didn't think we were going to get fans in. Now we do, and we won we won in the FA Cup Saturday, fantastic. And we're hoping for TV money. I think that may have slightly gone with tonight's draw, so it's constantly moving. But we are, we are committed to doing well and need to this year.
Is that the answer you wanted, Michael?
I'll do whatever we're given. Like I said, I think we're fully appreciative of the world we live in. So, like I said, I've not been involved in any of these conversations yet. There will be a board meeting that shall sit in December, and we've already got lists, and if there's money available, we'll go for some people. If there isn't, we'll go for others. So that's just the way football works.
Question for you, Michael. Graham again. Who was the best player you've played against in your career? He says he wants the best British and the best foreign player.
It's an easy one to roll off now. The easiest one for me is Ryan Giggs. Absolutely tortured me in an international match against Northern Ireland. I got taken off after 62 minutes, and there was no one more delighted than me when I saw the number 2 go up. So that's an easy one. I was lucky enough to beat Spain playing for Northern Ireland again, and that team went on to dominate the world for the next 6 years. It was in the qualifiers for the Euros, and there's people like Xavi, Iniesta, Raúl, Torres, David Villa, Sergio Ramos, Casillas all played in that team. So I'm not quite sure we beat them, and then obviously lucky enough to play against people like Aguero, Drogba. Drogba was probably the other one who, after 5 minutes, you think I'm in trouble here because he's quicker than you, he's stronger than you, he can jump higher than you, his touch is better than yours. So but obviously that's why people want to get into the big league, because every team you play against. I had a conversation with Wade the other day, and he was talking about the quality of midfielders from 10 years ago. And someone in the office said, he said, I think it's better now than what it was. And he went, really? And then he reeled off some of the midfielders that he was playing against back then. And I think, people like Lampard, Gerrard, David Silva was still playing, Yaya Toure, and really an awful load of names like that. So it's Ibrahimovic managed to play against him again. That's another big name. So yeah, it's been lucky to play against some good ones. But whenever anybody asks me, even my kids know this answer now, is who's the best player you played against? It was Ryan Giggs, just because of what he did to me.
One for the board. What happened with the Parklands dispute in the end?
well, we're still talking to Parkins. We've partially we reached a resolution up to a point, but discussions are currently ongoing with regard to the rest of it. But we are on good terms with them. We were able to have a conversation. The last conversation we had with them was some time ago, because it was obviously before all of the current business. But it was certainly held on good terms, and we're confident that we can resolve things for the future.
Okay, one's coming from Andrew Lewis on the chat. So if anybody wants to ask a question on the chat, they can. Another iFollow question. It seems the CTFC platform performs worse than other clubs. My son supports Oxford United and has a perfect reception. Has the quality of the CTFC platform been investigated?
I'm not aware that ours is any different to anybody else's, because they're all hosted by the Football League through their platform. But I know that we're not the only club that's had problems. There were, I think, a couple of weeks ago, was it the Carlisle game?
Yeah.
Where there was a problem right at the start of the match. I know that was a network-wide issue that covered a lot of clubs. And I know that the Football League have been as frustrated as anybody, and they've been taking it up in turn with their technology providers. So they're very much aware of it, and they've been trying to resolve the issue.
Yeah, I can add a bit to that with my new role with the FSA, that they are holding the Football League to sort of feet to the fire on this, because they know it's not good enough. As Paul alluded to earlier, that the system was built just for overseas fans. That promised infrastructure changes that the Football League said that were going to happen haven't happened. And they have got a survey running at the moment, the FSA, and I think they've had something like 5,000 responses already, which they're going to share to the Football League. I'll tweet it again from the Robins Trust account after this meeting. But if everybody can go in there and add their thoughts on iFollow, the FSA can ask them. John Murphy, we have a question for you. For us older supporters, Graham Fletcher says, best player you managed when you were Cheltenham manager?
Sorry, James, I didn't catch that. Well, just
sorry, yeah,
out.
my connection went.
I called Graham Fletcher, which was bad enough.
Yeah.
On cue then, when he was talking about iFollow.
So it was who were the best players you managed when you were Cheltenham manager?
Yeah. Best players I managed.
Did
he say the best players I managed?
Yeah, I think that was it, John. Yeah, best players.
Yeah.
Oh, there was undoubtedly there were two or three that Mark Boylan was head and shoulders above for the position that he played in, and probably he and Steve Brooks wouldn't be far away playing at a professional level. And it's always intriguing because they didn't, and a lot of them only played Southern League, which was a mile away from League Two. But Brett Angel, Peter Shearer was another one. Brett Angel probably was the one that was the most noticeable for going on and playing at a high level. But overall, the 2-3 that were most influential, and I genuinely felt, we were having this conversation, funny enough, with the Queen's Park Rangers chairman, and we felt that the team that we had, if we hadn't have sold Boylan, Townsend, Hughes and Jordan all within a short period of time, we may well have got in the Football League a number of years earlier. But I think Verkaf's, Boylan and Brooks were the three most influential, I think.
So Greg Parry will be delighted to hear Anton Verkas being mentioned, an absolute hero of his. Question for another one from Michael. There's an infrastructure question for you, Michael. Michael, what do you think the club needs to most develop infrastructure-wise in the future in order to become a club that can establish itself at League One or higher?
Ideally, we want to produce more players. I think it's not quite that simple because of the catchment that we live in. We lose a lot of young players to Cat 1s. a lot of the time when we get a good player, they always seem to be smaller than everyone else's. You go to the inner cities and they all seem to get the big uns. But that's what every club at this level is trying to do that. But like I said, every club at this level is trying to do that. So it's not that easy. In a perfect world, you develop a couple into your first team every year. But it takes a lot of time. It also takes money. So exactly the same things happening at Burnley. So I came in at Burnley, they were a Cat 3. They're now a Cat 1, but they're having a lot of money pumped into it now. So I was trying to sign players for a Premier League club on a first-year pro on minimal money. And they were representing a Premier League club. It was a million miles from the Premier League. So it takes, like most things in football, it takes money first and time. So other than that, good coaching. Can you coach players? Can you find younger players, which is something we've looked to do a little bit more this year. So when we first came in, I think the first team needed quite a little bit of work doing to it. So in terms of wages, we went quite heavy in terms of players on more sort of money. And now you look at some of the younger players that we're bringing in to try and develop, to get some resale value into the team. So you look at people like Lewis Freestone and younger players that could potentially go on rather than not just League Two players, but 30, 31-year-old League Two players where there's no resale value in them. So that's what we're trying to do. It's constantly evolving, it's constantly moving. But that's ultimately all I can do is control is the coaching of the players and trying to improve people as well as footballers.
Thank you. One for the board. With Forest Green marketing intensely, brackets, including in Cheltenham, I haven't seen any, what do the club do to ensure that it doesn't lose out on potential supporters to the likes of Forest Green or even Gloucester City?
I guess I'll speak on this one. I haven't seen any Forest Green advertising in Cheltenham, so if they are, they're obviously wasting their money, which is always isn't a surprise there. I think our media guys work wonders on the resources they have. So I'm always told by those guys, you can go and splash adverts around the town. They were the old traditional forms of advertising. Now I'm always constantly being told by those guys it's all online. And if you look at what we do digitally, it's gone on year, and that really is our form of advertising. So it's looking at Facebook, looking at Twitter. We've been trying different things with paid adverts this year. Not talking big bucks, but we're trying to do some paid Facebook advertising. That's particularly around the shop, where it will they'll do searches on friends who've got Cheltenham Town connections, and that really now is a form of advertising that is the most effective because you can see the results. You can see how many people you've reached, and you can see how many people have clicked. So that really is our main marketing strategy going forward, and that is led really by Murray and Joycey and Luke as well. Luke Saunders, those three meet regularly, both off and also have a commercial meeting. It was once a month pre-COVID, and then it's been a bit more as and when throughout the last couple of months. But we certainly talk about advertising mainly around the digital format.
Okay. The last call for questions. I've got six more to answer. So if anybody has any more, to go to that link, and then we will let these guys get on because they've got a game tomorrow. Well, Michael has at least. First of all, one for you, Michael. How happy are you developing partnerships with some good loans from clubs? Hull and West Brom as an example. And are there plans to develop this in the future?
Well, yeah, that's what we're trying to do. Like I said, it's constantly moving. Just to answer the last question as well, I think the best form of advertising is winning games of football. So if you keep winning more games than your local rivals, people will support us more than them, hopefully. But no, obviously I've got a relationship with Grant at Hull, so it's not the first Portal Cup where people think Cheltenham Town or Hull City, but you look at what we did with Greavesy's starting for them every week now in the top of League One. So they've trusted us with Elliot straight away. We identified Elliot last January. He was supposed to be the first one in the door this summer, but for whatever reasons, it took a little bit longer than what we wanted. the next ones are obviously your local ones, your Bristol Cities, your Aston Villas, your West Broms. We've played West Brom last year. I think the word's out now that we do try and play half decent football. The word's out that we do coach the players. We're not just looking for cheap subs, because if we develop their players, we get the next ones. So that helps us. It keeps our costs down as well. And then something that we're looking to do is things like players that aren't gonna get to their first team, but we can take them on a permanent, because they're still affordable because of their age most of the time. And then you just give them their parent club or the club that you're taking them from a big sell on, because the gulf between under 23s football and Championship Premier League is huge now. So there's not that many of them get through, but there's still some good players within it. You people look at Finn Azaz. I'm not saying we can get him, but he's going to have to go a long way to get into West Brom's first team, but he's got the quality to definitely have a Football League career. So that's other things that we're looking at. And like you said, it's constantly developing relationships, because we can't go and buy all the best players all the time.
Excellent. Another one for you. Follows on from that a bit. With a good record with most of your loanees and most of your decent permanent signings, what position or positions are you most looking to recruit in the next window? And a side question, what is the situation with Alex Adai?
Well, I don't know what I'm looking for, because I don't know what I've got to spend. So that's an easy question to dodge. We're always looking at this. I could probably give you a list of every position of what we'd want, or if we were to improve, or if you were to go up a league, or if you were to get a little bit more money, how you can constantly improve the team. And that should always be the case anyway, no matter what level you are. Alex wanted to go and play some football, and we wanted him to go and play some football. He's been, I've had this conversation with Alex. He came to me and said, his agent rang and said that the team have come in for him. They had another opportunity 2 months ago, which he decided not to take, which I think he might have regretted a little bit. He's still got another. He's contracted to the end of the season, so go out, get some minutes. It's never a case of, if you go out on loan, that's your career here, done. That isn't the case with Alex, definitely. He knows that, but I said right at the start of this forum that players want to play. So training all week's great, but the real buzz is playing games of football. And at the minute, he hasn't been as effective coming off the bench as what he was last year. So hopefully just go away, see a new environment. Sometimes just go and see a new environment. Sometimes the grass isn't always greener, or you might go and really love it. And then if he goes back and hits the ground running, we get a better player comes back in a month's time. So yeah, there's no fallout or anything like that. Sometimes people are trying to constantly look for a fallout or anything like that. I like Alex. Everyone knows what he's like as a lad. His personality is brilliant. He's lively, he's infectious, but ultimately he wants to play. We couldn't guarantee him a load of football. So we'll pick it up in 3 weeks' time and see where we're at.
Excellent. Thank you. One for the guys on the board, a couple actually for the guys on the board. How is funding for the academy supported during COVID? Is it always the first thing that could be cut in a financial crisis, but in the long term it is needed?
Funding is so we can't cut it really as a club, because we get a distribution of funding. So there are rules around the academy. And our category. So the funding from the Football Association, Football League is continued. And as a club, we have to match some of those and follow some criteria. Otherwise, funding will be taken away from us. So that has continued. Obviously, we furloughed some of the staff in the main lockdown because, see, like anything else, it stopped. But this most recent lockdown, the academy, apart from 1 week when there was still some discussions with the Football Association, has carried on. And that has carried on. So there hasn't really been any change as such to the academy. So in terms of could we cut the funding? Well, the answer to that really is no, because we'd then fall foul of our criteria unless we made the decision to
completely scrap the academy, and I don't think any of us would make that decision.
Okay. One for probably Paul, Godfrey, and Michael is what is the most complicated transfer or loan deal you've ever been involved in?
Paul's answer will be better than mine here.
Well, we've had a couple of interesting deadline days, I must admit. There was one a few years ago when Mark Yates was manager. We brought in Byron Harrison, we brought in somebody else, and we also transferred out Alan Bennett. But at the time, we were also trying to do, all on the same day at the same time, we were trying to do a swap deal with Marlon Pack and a player from another club. And it was getting very complicated. There was lots of different discussions all going on at the same time. And in the end, that one fell through because the club we were talking to neglected to tell us that they were actually under a transfer embargo at the time, so they couldn't do any business even if we'd agreed to deal. But on top of all that, with all of those things going on, my emails suddenly decided to stop working about an hour before the deadline. I didn't realise it, but my email inbox was completely full and gummed up. So that became a little bit of a panic. Fortunately, it was about the last year that fax machines actually worked before they were all basically unplugged and chucked in a skip. So I had to do those last bits of transfers, getting Byron from Wimbledon and one or two others by old-fashioned fax. So yeah, that was an interesting evening. I think John was around there at the time. Actually, John was there helping out with one or two phone calls and bits and pieces. It was yeah, that was a fun one.
You've also signed players from you've ducked out of the Trent Bridge Test match before, haven't you, to go and use Nottingham Forest?
Oh yeah. When Bobby Gould was manager, we signed Kevin Amankwa from Bristol City on loan. That was right at the start of the season in August. And I'd been with my cricket team I was playing for at the time. We had arranged a day out to go and watch a Test match at Trent Bridge, England v South Africa. So went up there with lots of excitement to watch the cricket, and got a phone call on the way from manager at the time, Bobby Gould, to say that we were signing a player. So I again, using fax machines back in those days, I got hold of Nottingham Forest, which those of you that have been to the Trent Bridge or the City Ground know that they're next to each other. And I asked the secretary of Nottingham Forest if I could borrow his fax machine and sign a player, to which he agreed, which I was very pleased about. And his secretary even made me a nice cup of tea and gave me a lovely slice of cake. So it was a very pleasant morning. Got the player signed and managed to get into Trent Bridge in time to watch the first ball of the Test match. So successful all round, that one.
Okay. I have three more questions. First of all, to Michael. Michael, do you pay much attention to managers' post-match comments, and do they ever sour or improve relationships?
I do look at them sometimes. It don't really bother me one way or the other, or I try not to get involved. Hence the reason I told David at the weekend what I was going to say in the press, just so you don't, because sometimes you do walk in the office. It's always a little bit weird. It's actually quite nice at the minute because you don't have to go in people's offices because of the COVID thing. But there's always that sort of weirdness, particularly when you don't know them, that you sort of have this awkward conversation where you've fallen out for the 2 hours before it, and then you go and pretend everything is all right, and then you go and see in the press that he's just lied to you. They've just lied to you. So it is what it is. It's you have relationships with some, you don't with others. There's a mutual respect because ultimately we're all in a tough job. There's one thing that's the one thing that there is. A lot of people will see that the antics on the sideline. That's just people wanting to win. Nearly all the time, there's the respect when you walk in each other's office that. Normally the assistants sort of migrate off towards, and the managers nearly always migrate towards each other because they're the ones that know that ultimately, if you don't win enough, you're going to get out, or the club will get you out. So it is tough. I don't take too much attention to the press or anything like that, because I see the game with my own eyes. Obviously, I've got red and white tinted glasses, so if there's a 50-50 or even a 60-40, I'll still appeal for it. But that's just in my nature. I just want to win. And we're in a business by hook or by crook. There's no sort of there's a way to do it in terms of a sportsmanship and all that within that. And ultimately, once the whistle stops, I have a laugh and joke with quite a few of them now. I say, listen, I'm going to fall out with you for the next 2 hours. I'm going to wish you all the worst. And then afterwards, we'll have a beer and shake hands. And because it is a difficult job.
Final one for the board. How much extra is it going to cost per game to hold a match with the fans who are presumably paid in advance attending, and you aren't generating any match day revenue?
Yeah, good question. Clive asked me that this afternoon, actually, funny enough. He wants a schedule of the additional stewarding costs. Because I've been down the ground all day with Andy, the stadium manager, safety officer. We're going through the arrangements. And Andy's come up with a stewarding plan. So we're going to be costing it tomorrow, hopefully. But yeah, there will be additional costs. There's no getting away from it. As I said earlier, it's very much the small steps at this stage, going through the process of proving really to the government, and as much as anything else to the wider society, that football is capable of having fans back into the stadium safely, and that we can move forward on that basis and not cause problems for anybody. So in the initial stages, that's going to cost the clubs money. Hopefully not for too long. Hopefully we can move on from that, and again, with the wind in the right direction, if the infection rate continues to fall and there are other developments with regard to the virus itself, then hopefully we can make some more progress with regard to getting more people back into the grounds, and then we'll be able to go beyond the break-even position with the matches in the future before too long.
Okay, final. Two final questions. First of all, does Michael want them to win I'm a Celebrity? Lost on me. And also, it's the Tozer throw.
Hold on, James. You've broken up again.
It's nearly gone. Right. Okay, so two final questions. Who does Michael want? Does Michael want Jordan to win I'm a Celebrity? Means nothing to me. And it's the 93rd minute, and we need an equaliser or a winner to win the league. Would you rather have a Tozer throw-in or a corner?
Well, if it means we're going to score, I don't care. And to be honest, I don't really care about the other one either. So I'd like to have the opportunity to have a last-minute winner to get promoted. So how that comes, I'm not really interested. And yeah, the I'm a Celebrity thing, I dip in and out of it with the kids. You've just seen one of them pop up a minute ago. They've just been watching it. So it's we're always a day behind because it's on too late for them to watch it at night. So they sit and watch it after tea time. So yeah, I'd never heard of the bloke, but obviously the big Burnley connection. So it's hopefully he wins.
And presumably, if we do have a last-minute winner to win the league, Jamie Victor will try to claim it, will he?
Like I said, it's the opportunity would be a nice thing to have that opportunity to score a goal that would get us promoted at this. We're a long way to go yet, so it's a long way in the distance.
Excellent. Well, thank you, chaps. I think that we've done a whole hour, so I think we'll let you get to your bed tending and for also taking part in the forum. That's been it's been different, but we got it done.
I think James's internet connections on the iFollow platform, isn't it?
Being in the bar for next year, this time next year when it happens again.
I think that was thank you and the drinks from me.
Yeah.
Yeah, smile if you agree. Yeah.
Cheers.
I'll wrap it up then.
Thank you, everyone.
See you later.
Thank you. Thank you. Hopefully see most of you Saturday.
See ya.
What was